The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was the largest room Grace Patterson had ever seen. It stretched so far that the walls seemed to fade into mist. Thousands of aliens sat in floating chairs, arranged in a massive circle, all facing the central platform where she now stood alone. Grace took a deep breath. She had practiced this speech 100 times. Earth needed her to succeed today. 300 years of suffering depended on the next few minutes. The aliens watching her came in every shape imaginable. Some looked like giant insects with clicking mandibles. Others resembled fish that had learned to walk on land. A few were made of living crystal that caught the light and scattered rainbows across the floor. These were the Vorn, the rulers of the Galactic Collective, and their leader sat directly in front of her on a throne that floated higher than all the others. High Arbiter Zethkal was ancient even by Vorn standards. His crystalline body had grown dark with age, shot through with veins of deep purple. When he moved, he made a sound like wind chimes in a storm. "The human delegation may speak," he said. His voice echoed through the chamber, translated instantly into every language present. Grace stepped forward. "High Arbiter, honored representatives, I come before you today on behalf of Earth and all human colonies. We wish to discuss the Mineral Rights Amendment." A low rumble of amusement spread through the chamber. Grace ignored it and continued. "For 3 centuries, humanity has been a loyal member of this collective. We have paid our tributes. We have followed your laws. We have sent our young people to work in your mines and factories. We have done everything asked of us." "As you should," Zethkal interrupted. "You exist because we permit it." Grace forced herself to remain calm. Earth provides 17% of all rare earth minerals used by the collective. Our workers maintain 60% of your deep space stations. Our engineers designed the navigation systems used by half your fleet. Yes, yes. The High Arbiter waved a crystalline hand dismissively. Humans are useful, like tools. What is your point? My point, High Arbiter, is that we deserve fair payment for our work. We deserve voting rights equal to other species. We deserve to be treated as partners, not property. The laughter started small, from the insect-like Crix delegation, but it spread quickly. Soon the entire chamber was filled with the sound of alien amusement. The Melthari gurgled. The Saroni whistled. Even species Grace had never seen before joined in the mockery. She stood perfectly still, her face showing nothing. Behind her, Colonel Daniel Price watched from the shadows. His hand rested on a small device in his pocket, recording everything. Every laugh, every sneer, every insult. Zethkal raised a hand, and the laughter slowly died away. "Ambassador Patterson, your species joined this collective as refugees. Your sun was dying. Your planet was freezing. You came to us begging for help, and we generously allowed you to settle on worlds within our territory. We are grateful for that kindness," Grace said carefully. "Kindness?" The High Arbiter leaned forward. "It was not kindness, it was investment. We saw potential in humanity. Strong bodies, quick minds, useful breeding rates. We saved you because you could serve us, and serve us you have." He gestured, and a holographic display appeared in the air. Numbers and charts filled the space around Grace. However, recent analysis suggests that humanity has not been serving us well enough. Your tribute payments will increase by 40%, effective immediately. A murmur ran through the chamber. Several delegations exchanged surprised glances. Even by collective standards, this was harsh. "Furthermore," Zethkal continued, "your shipyards will produce vessels exclusively for the collective fleet. You will no longer build ships for your own use. and your outer colonies will house surplus populations from species that actually matter. Grace felt something cold settle in her chest. This was worse than she had expected. Far worse. High Arbiter, these terms are extreme. Perhaps we could negotiate? There is nothing to negotiate. You are humans. You do not negotiate, you obey. The Krix delegation chittered their approval. The Melthari slapped their flippers together in applause. Around the chamber, species that had stayed silent now voiced their support for the High Arbiter's decision. 300 years, one of the fish-like aliens called out. 300 years, and they still think they deserve respect. Send them back to their frozen rock, another suggested. Too expensive. Just work them harder. Grace listened to all of it. She watched the faces of the aliens around her, saw the contempt in their eyes. These beings had never seen humans as people. To them, humanity was just a resource to be exploited until there was nothing left. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device. It was silver, no bigger than a coin, with a single red light that began to blink when she set it on the podium. The chamber fell silent. Something about her movement, her stillness, her absolute calm caught their attention. The United Earth government has heard your decision, Grace said. Her voice was quiet, but it carried to every corner of the room. We have listened to your terms. We have seen how you view us. And now, I have a message to deliver. Zethkal's crystalline form shifted colors, showing confusion. A message? You are here to receive orders, not deliver messages. Effective immediately, Grace continued, as if he had not spoken. Earth withdraws from all 732 treaties with the Galactic Collective. The silence became absolute. All collective assets within human space are hereby seized. All collective citizens have 48 hours to leave our territory. All collective vessels have 6 hours to exit our space before they are treated as hostile. Zethkal rose from his throne, his crystalline body flashing with angry light. You cannot do this. You have no power. You have no fleet. You have nothing. Grace looked up at him, and for the first time, she smiled. We have everything, High Arbiter. You just never bothered to look. She turned and walked toward the exit. Colonel Price fell into step beside her. Behind them, the chamber erupted into chaos as 1,000 alien voices shouted questions, threats, and demands. None of it mattered anymore. As they reached the doors, Daniel leaned close. That went well. Better than expected, Grace replied. Did you get everything? Every word, every laugh. Earth will see exactly how they treated us. The doors closed behind them, cutting off the noise of the council. In the hallway outside, a human security team waited with weapons ready. Ambassador, our shuttle is standing by, the team leader reported. Grace nodded. Good. Get us off this station. The next few hours are going to be very interesting. As they hurried toward the docking bay, she allowed herself one small moment of satisfaction. 300 years of patience. 300 years of planning. 300 years of hiding their true strength while the galaxy laughed at them. Admiral Christopher Lane stood on the bridge of the Defiance and watched the stars. Behind him, 200 crew members worked at their stations, calm and focused despite what was about to happen. Admiral, Ambassador Patterson's shuttle has cleared the council station, his communications officer reported. She's on her way home. Good. Time to show our friends what they've been missing. Lane was 63 years old, with gray hair and a face marked by decades of military service. He had spent his entire career preparing for this moment. His father had prepared before him, and his grandfather before that. 3 generations of the Lane family, all working toward the same goal. He pressed a button on his chair. All fleet commanders, this is Admiral Lane. Execute Protocol Sunrise. I repeat, execute Protocol Sunrise. Throughout human space, The message spread at the speed of light. On 100 worlds, in 1,000 hidden locations, humanity's true military began to wake up. Lieutenant Patricia Cole sat at the tactical station, her fingers moving across the controls. "Admiral, I'm getting confirmation from all sectors. Fleet groups Alpha through Omega are launching." "Show me." The main view screen flickered, then displayed a map of human space. Red dots began appearing, slowly at first, then faster and faster. Each dot represented a ship. Each cluster represented a fleet. "Initial count is 3,000 vessels," Patricia reported. "No, wait, 5,000, 7,000. Her voice rose with excitement. "Admiral, we're tracking over 12,000 combat ships now, and more are still launching." Lane nodded slowly. This was what 300 years of secret work looked like. When humanity first joined the Galactic Collective, they had been forced to sign treaties limiting their military. Only 50 combat vessels. Only defensive weapons. Only technology approved by the Council. The humans had agreed to everything, and then they had started building in secret. The mining colony on Titan was not really a mining colony. It was a shipyard carved into the moon's frozen surface, producing warships that were immediately hidden in the outer system. The research station orbiting Neptune was actually a weapons laboratory. The agricultural settlements in the asteroid belt were factories producing ammunition and armor. Every scientist the Collective exiled to remote human worlds had actually volunteered to go. Every failed business venture was actually a cover for military spending. Every surplus of food or materials that humanity reported was actually being fed into the hidden war machine. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Council station," the communications officer said. "It's High Arbiter Zethkal. Put him through." The Vorn leader's face appeared on screen. His crystalline features were twisted with rage and confusion. "Admiral Lane, what is the meaning of this? Our sensors are detecting massive energy signatures throughout your space. Explain yourself immediately." Lane leaned back in his chair. "High Arbiter, I recommend you check those sensor readings more carefully." The transmission paused as Zethkal apparently did exactly that. When he returned, something had changed in his expression. The rage was still there, but now it was mixed with something else. Fear. "That's impossible," the Vorn whispered. "Those readings cannot be correct. You cannot have that many ships. Your treaties forbid." "Our treaties with the Collective ended about 30 minutes ago," Lane said calmly. "We are no longer bound by any of your rules." "But where did they come from? How did you hide them?" "We hid them everywhere, High Arbiter. In asteroids and moons. In deep space where your patrols never bothered to look. In the outer reaches of systems you considered too cold and dark to matter. We have been building this fleet for 3 centuries, right under your nose." On the bridge behind him, Patricia pulled up another display. "Admiral, the Omega platforms are coming online." The Omega platforms were humanity's greatest secret. Massive weapon stations, hidden in the void between stars, each one capable of destroying an entire planet. The Collective had banned such weapons centuries ago, declaring them too dangerous for any species to possess. Humanity had never signed that particular treaty. "High Arbiter," Lane continued, "I want you to understand something. For 300 years, you treated us as servants. You took our resources. You taxed our labor. You laughed at us in your council chamber. You assumed we were weak because we didn't fight back." He stood up from his chair and walked closer to the view screen. "We weren't weak. We were patient. There is a very important difference." Zethkal's crystalline form flickered with unstable colors. "This is madness. Even with these ships, you cannot stand against the combined might of the Collective. We have 6,000 vessels spread across 100 systems. We have allies. We have resources beyond anything you can imagine." "You have 6,000 ships spread across 100 systems," Lane agreed. which means you cannot concentrate your forces without leaving your homeworlds vulnerable. We, on the other hand, have 12,000 ships in concentrated positions. We have local superiority everywhere that matters. The other species will never allow this. The Krix, the Melthari, the Saroni. The other species are already receiving our terms for peaceful withdrawal from the conflict. Many of them are surprisingly eager to stop fighting alongside the Vorn. The High Arbiter's image flickered with static as his emotions interfered with the transmission. You will pay for this betrayal. Every human world will burn. Every human city will be destroyed. We will hunt your species to extinction. Lane's expression hardened. High Arbiter, let me make something very clear. We are not the same species you enslaved 300 years ago. We have spent those centuries learning everything about you, your tactics, your technology, your weaknesses. We know exactly how to defeat you. He paused, letting the words sink in. You have one chance to avoid total war. Withdraw from human space. Release all human workers from your labor camps. Return all property seized from human colonies. Do this within 72 hours, and we will negotiate peace. And if we refuse, then we will take what is ours by force. And we will keep taking until there is nothing left of the Vorn Dominion. The transmission cut off abruptly. For a long moment, the bridge was silent. Admiral, Patricia said quietly, do you think they'll accept the terms? Lane shook his head. No. The Vorn are too proud. They'll attack, hoping to destroy us quickly before we can use our full strength. And when they do? Lane looked at the tactical display, at the thousands of ships waiting for his command. When they do, we'll show them exactly what humanity can do when we stop pretending to be weak. He returned to his chair and pressed the fleet-wide communication button. All ships, this is Admiral Lane. The enemy will likely attack within the next 48 hours. Prepare for battle. Today, we take back our future. Across human space, 12,000 ships acknowledge the order. After 300 years of waiting, the war for humanity's freedom was about to begin. The Vorn fleet jumped into the Sol system at exactly midnight, Earth time. 800 warships emerged from faster-than-light travel in a flash of blue light, their weapons already charging. Fleet Commander Kethal stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Glory, watching the tactical display. He had served the Vorn Dominion for 200 years. He had conquered 12 species. He had never lost a battle. All ships, form attack pattern, he ordered. Target the human homeworld. We will burn their cities and crush their rebellion before it can spread. His sensors officer made a confused sound. Commander, I am detecting human vessels ahead. More than expected. The humans have 50 ships. We have 800. Show me. The display flickered, and Kethal felt something cold move through his crystalline body. The human fleet that waited for them was not 50 ships. It was not even close to 50 ships. Admiral Lane watched the Vorn fleet from the bridge of the Defiance. Around him, 300 human warships held position, arranged in a perfect defensive formation. They're scanning us, Patricia reported. I think they're surprised. I imagine they are. Open a channel. The Vorn commander's face appeared on screen. His crystalline features were shifting colors rapidly, a sign of extreme stress in his species. Human Admiral, you were supposed to have 50 vessels. Where did these ships come from? The same place the rest of our fleet came from, Lane replied calmly. We built them while you weren't paying attention. This changes nothing. We still outnumber you. We still have superior technology. We will still destroy you. Lane nodded to Patricia, who pressed a button on her console. The view screen split, showing not just the local battle, but tactical feeds from across human space. Commander, right now, Vorn forces are being engaged at every human colony simultaneously. Your fleet of 800 is facing 300 of ours here at Earth. But similar battles are happening at Mars, at Titan, at the asteroid settlements. Your 6,000 ships are spread across 100 systems. Ours are concentrated exactly where they need to be. Kethal stared at the display in silence. You have two choices, Lane continued. Withdraw now, and we will allow your fleet to leave unharmed. Or fight, and watch your ships die. The Vorn commander's crystalline form flashed with angry red light. Vorn, do not retreat. All ships, attack. 800 Vorn warships surged forward, their weapons firing. Beams of energy crossed the darkness between fleets. Missiles launched in swarms. The battle for Earth had begun. All ships, defensive formation, Lane ordered. Return fire at will. Human weapons technology had advanced in secret for 3 centuries. While the Vorn believed humanity was limited to outdated systems, human scientists had been developing something entirely new. The kinetic accelerators fired first. These weapons used magnetic fields to launch metal slugs at incredible speeds. Each slug hit with the force of a small nuclear weapon. Vorn shields designed to stop energy beams crumbled under the physical impacts. Direct hits on enemy vessels, Patricia reported. Their shields are failing. Fire the quantum torpedoes. The quantum torpedoes were humanity's most advanced weapon. They did not simply hit enemy ships. They passed through shields and armor as if they were not there, then exploded inside the target. The first wave of torpedoes struck the Vorn fleet. 30 ships vanished in balls of fire. Then 40 more. Then 50. On the Eternal Glory, Kethal watched in horror as his fleet was torn apart. This is impossible. Our shields should be stopping those weapons. Commander, the human weapons are not conventional. They appear to be phasing through our defenses. Then get closer. Use our superior numbers. Overwhelm them. The Vorn fleet pushed forward, but for every meter they gained, they lost more ships. The human vessels moved with perfect coordination, their defensive formation allowing them to concentrate fire, while minimizing their own exposure. After 2 hours, the Vorn had lost 400 ships. The humans had lost 8. After 3 hours, the Vorn had lost 500 ships. The humans had lost 12. After 4 hours, Commander Kethal finally gave the order to retreat. His fleet had been reduced from 800 vessels to less than 200. The humans had lost 19 ships total. On the bridge of the Defiance, Lane watched the remaining Vorn ships jump away to faster-than-light travel. Order all ships to hold position. Do not pursue. Sir? Patricia looked surprised. We could destroy the rest of them. We could, but that's not why we're fighting. We're fighting to be free, not to exterminate them. If they run, let them run. He turned to the communications officer. Get me a status report from all other battle zones. The reports came in quickly, and each one told the same story. At Mars, human forces had defeated a Vorn attack fleet with minimal losses. At Titan, the hidden shipyards had launched their reserves to crush an enemy assault. At the asteroid settlements, human miners had used converted cargo ships to surround and capture 3 Vorn cruisers. In every battle, across every front, humanity was winning. On the Vorn homeworld, High Arbiter Zethkal received the news in his private chamber. His oldest advisor, a Vorn named Thelak, delivered the reports personally. The attack on Earth has failed. Commander Kethal lost 600 ships in 4 hours. Similar losses are being reported across human space. Zethkal said nothing for a long time. His crystalline body had gone dark with despair. How did this happen? He finally asked. They were supposed to be primitives, refugees, weaklings. Thelak pulled up historical records on the chamber's display system. High Arbiter, I have been studying human history. I believe we made a serious error in our assessment of this species. Explain. Humans evolved on a world of extreme competition. They survived ice ages. They survived predators larger and stronger than themselves. They survived diseases that killed millions of their kind. And most importantly, they survived each other. The display showed images from human history, ancient battles, Medieval wars, modern conflicts. Their entire existence has been defined by conflict. They have never known peace for more than a generation. War is not something they fear, it is something they excel at. Zethkal studied the images. Humans fighting with swords, humans fighting with guns, humans fighting with machines that could destroy cities. And yet they smiled at us for 300 years. They bowed their heads and paid their tributes. Yes, High Arbiter, because they were planning this from the very beginning. They knew they could not defeat us immediately, so they pretended to be weak while building their strength in secret. Their entire species cooperated in a deception that lasted 3 centuries. The High Arbiter's crystalline form flickered with something like admiration mixed with terror. They outplanned us. They outweighted us. And now they are outfighting us. Yes, High Arbiter. What do we do? Felok was silent for a moment. We have 2 options. We can continue fighting and risk the destruction of the Vorn Dominion. Or we can negotiate and hope the humans are willing to accept peace. Zethkal looked at the battle reports again. 600 ships lost in a single engagement. Thousands more casualties across other fronts. And the humans had barely scratched their own fleet. Send a message to Admiral Lane. Tell him we wish to discuss terms. For the first time in 2,000 years, the Vorn Dominion was asking for peace. The Vorn's request for peace talks changed everything. Word spread through the Galactic Collective like fire through dry grass. The mighty Vorn Dominion, rulers of the galaxy for 2,000 years, had asked humans for terms. The other species began to panic. Ambassador Grace Patterson sat in her office on Earth, reviewing the flood of messages that had arrived overnight. The Krix wanted to negotiate separately. The Melthari were offering immediate surrender. The Soroni had already pulled their ships back to their home system. Even species that had never directly harmed humanity were suddenly very interested in friendship. "It's amazing what winning one battle can do," she said to Colonel Daniel Price, who stood by the window looking out at the rebuilding city below. "The Vorn lost 600 ships in 4 hours," Daniel replied. "That kind of defeat doesn't just hurt their military, it destroys their reputation. Every species in the collective is now wondering if they're next." A message arrived marked urgent. Grace opened it and smiled. "The Krix delegation is here. They want to meet immediately." The Krix ambassador was a tall, insect-like creature with 4 arms and clicking mandibles. His name was impossible for humans to pronounce, so he had taken the human name Victor for diplomatic purposes. Victor entered Grace's office with obvious nervousness. His mandibles clicked rapidly as he lowered himself into a specially designed chair. "Ambassador Patterson, thank you for seeing me so quickly. I bring greetings from the Krix Hive Collective and our sincere wishes for peace between our peoples." Grace kept her expression neutral. "Ambassador Victor, I seem to recall your delegation laughing quite loudly at the last council session, when High Arbiter Zethkal announced increased tribute for humanity. Your clicking sounded almost like applause." Victor's clicking became faster. "A cultural misunderstanding, Ambassador. We Krix click when we are nervous. It was not approval. It was anxiety." "I see. The Krix have always admired humanity, your work ethic, your creativity, your ability to survive in difficult conditions. We were never truly enemies." Grace let the silence stretch until Victor began clicking again. "Let me be direct, Ambassador. The Krix supported the Vorn because we feared them. They have ruled this galaxy for 2,000 years. What choice did we have?" "You had the same choice everyone has. You chose wrong." Victor's mandibles drooped. "Yes, we did. And now we wish to choose differently." Grace pulled up a document on her display. "Earth is willing to accept a separate peace with the Krix Collective. However, there are conditions. Of course, whatever humanity requires. All Krix forces will withdraw from human space immediately. All Krix citizens working in human territory will be repatriated within 30 days. The Krix will pay reparations for their participation in human exploitation. Victor nodded rapidly. Yes, all acceptable. The reparations will continue for 100 years. The clicking stopped. Victor stared at her. 100 years? Is there a problem? For a long moment, Victor said nothing. Then his mandibles slowly resumed their nervous clicking. No, Ambassador, no problem. The Krix accept your terms. Similar meetings happened over the following weeks. The Melthari sent a delegation that agreed to everything Earth demanded before Grace could even list her conditions. The Soroti tried to negotiate, but ultimately accepted terms that were actually harsher than what the Krix received. Smaller species lined up to declare their friendship with humanity, desperate to avoid being caught on the wrong side of history. Each time, Grace was firm but not cruel. She demanded reparations and guarantees, but she did not seek revenge. She wanted partners for the future, not subjects. "You're being too generous," Daniel told her after the seventh species signed a peace treaty. "I'm being practical. An enemy you crush completely becomes an enemy forever. An enemy you treat fairly can become a friend. We want a galaxy where humans are respected, not feared." "And the Vorn?" Grace's expression hardened. The Vorn are a special case. While diplomacy continued on Earth, the war pressed forward. Human forces pushed into Vorn territory, liberating colonies that had been under their control for centuries. Commander Samuel Brooks led his unit through the streets of a Vorn administrative city on the planet Keth Prime. His soldiers moved carefully, checking buildings and securing intersections. Above them, human ships controlled the sky. "Sir, we've located the main government building," Sergeant Nancy Adams reported. "There are approximately 300 Vorn officials inside. They're requesting terms for surrender." Samuel studied the building through his tactical display. It was a tall structure, made of the same crystalline material as the Vorn themselves, glittering in the alien sunlight. "What kind of officials are we talking about?" Nancy checked her data. "Mostly administrators. Some of them were involved in managing human labor camps." Samuel felt his jaw tighten. He had seen the labor camps. He had seen what the Vorn had done to human workers who couldn't meet their quotas. The memories still woke him up at night. "Sir?" Nancy was watching him carefully. Samuel took a deep breath. "Tell them we accept their surrender. Anyone who resists is to be subdued with minimum force." "Sir, some of these people—" "I know exactly who they are, Sergeant." Samuel turned to face her. "I know what they did, and I know what I want to do to them. But that's not who we are." He looked back at the building. "The Vorn treated us like animals because they believed we were animals. If we act like them, we prove them right. If we show them mercy, we prove we're better." Nancy nodded slowly. "Yes, sir." The surrender went smoothly. Vorn officials emerged from the building, with their hands raised, moving awkwardly in a gesture of submission they had learned from watching humans. Samuel's soldiers processed them according to regulations, taking weapons and identifying individuals. One of the Vorn, an older official with dark crystalline features, approached Samuel directly. "You are the human commander." "I am. I managed the labor distribution for this sector." The Vorn's voice was flat, emotionless. "I sent many of your people to work in the deep mines. Many of them did not survive." Samuel felt his hand move toward his sidearm before he stopped himself. "Are you confessing?" "I am stating facts. I did my duty as I understood it. Now you will do yours." "You're right. I will." Samuel turned to his soldiers. "Take this one to the detention center. Flag him for war crimes tribunal. Make sure he gets medical attention and 3 meals a day." Velthak's crystalline features shifted with confusion. "You're not going to kill me?" "No. But I admitted what I did. I helped enslave your people. And you'll face justice for it. A proper trial. Evidence, witnesses, a verdict based on law, not anger." Samuel stepped closer to the Vorn, looking up at the taller alien. "That's the difference between us. You treated us as less than people. We're going to treat you better than you deserve, because that's what humans do." The soldiers led Veltak away. Nancy watched him go, then turned to her commander. "You think he understands?" "Not yet, but he will. They all will." Samuel looked up at the alien sky. "We're not just winning a war, Sergeant. We're showing the galaxy what humanity really is, and that's more important than any battle." Across Vorn space, similar scenes played out. Human forces advanced steadily, but they did not burn cities or slaughter civilians. They captured military targets, secured vital infrastructure, and treated prisoners according to rules the Vorn themselves had never followed. It confused the enemy more than anything else could have. The Treaty of Sol was signed on the space station orbiting Earth, exactly 1 year after humanity had withdrawn from the Galactic Collective. Representatives from 47 species filled the Great Hall, sitting in chairs arranged in a circle around a central table. It was the same arrangement as the old council chamber, but everything else was different. Ambassador Grace Patterson stood at the podium, looking out at the assembled delegates. Many of them had once laughed at her. Some had voted to increase humanity's tribute. A few had personally profited from human suffering. Now they sat quietly, waiting for her to speak. "1 year ago," Grace began, "I stood in a room much like this one and asked for fair treatment. I asked for respect. I asked to be seen as an equal." She paused, letting the memories settle over the crowd. "I was laughed at, dismissed, told that humanity existed only because the collective permitted it. Told that we were tools to be used, not partners to be respected." Several delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "Today, we are here to create something new. Not a collective where some species rule and others serve. Not an empire where power determines worth. We are here to create an assembly where every species, regardless of age or strength, has an equal voice." The document that would become known as the Treaty of Sol covered more than 2,000 pages. It established the Galactic Assembly, a new government where every member species had equal voting rights. It abolished tribute systems and replaced them with voluntary trade agreements. It created courts where disputes could be settled fairly and criminals could be tried justly. And it dissolved the Vorn Dominion. High Arbiter Zethkal was not present for the signing. He was in a detention facility on the far side of Earth's moon, awaiting trial for crimes against humanity. The evidence against him filled entire databases. Testimony from survivors of labor camps. Records of orders he had personally signed. Videos of speeches where he had called humans useful animals, and worse. His trial would last 3 months. The verdict would be guilty on all counts. The sentence would be life imprisonment on a distant station, where he would have centuries to contemplate his mistakes. Grace watched as representative after representative came forward to sign the treaty. The Krix ambassador clicked nervously as he added his name. The Melthari delegates' flippers shook slightly. Even species that had never directly harmed humanity seemed uncertain, as if they expected the humans to reveal some terrible punishment at the last moment. Only a fair treaty and a chance to start over. When the last signature was complete, Grace addressed the assembly one final time. 300 years ago, humanity came to the stars as refugees. We had lost our original sun. Our homeworld was dying. We needed help, and some of you gave it, while others saw an opportunity to exploit us. She looked around the room, meeting eyes and sensors and visual organs of every type. We learned much from both experiences. We learned that strength without wisdom is tyranny. We learned that patience without purpose is slavery. And we learned that even the mightiest empire can fall when it forgets that every thinking being deserves dignity. Her voice softened slightly. We did not fight this war for revenge. We did not build our fleet to conquer. We did this because we refused to be slaves any longer. And now that we are free, we choose to offer that same freedom to everyone. She gestured at the treaty document. This is not a human empire. This is not the old collective with different masters. This is something new. A place where the Krix and the Melthari and the Saroni and yes, even the Vorn can live as equals with humanity and each other. Grace paused, then smiled slightly. I know some of you are afraid of us now. You've seen what human determination can accomplish when we focus on a goal. You've seen our hidden fleet and our secret weapons. You wonder what else we might be hiding. Several delegates nodded despite themselves. The answer is nothing. We have no more secrets. Our weapons exist only for defense. Our fleet will protect the assembly, not threaten it. We want partners, not subjects. Friends, not servants. She stepped back from the podium. The real work begins now. On Earth, retired Admiral Christopher Lane sat in his small house near the ocean, watching the ceremony on his view screen. His granddaughter Emma sat beside him, a cup of cocoa warming her hands. Grandpa, were you scared during the war? Lane considered the question carefully. Emma was 12 years old enough to understand some things, but not all of them. Every day, he admitted, every single day. But you're a hero. Heroes aren't supposed to be scared. That's not true, Emma. Being brave doesn't mean not being scared. Being brave means being scared and doing the right thing anyway. Oh, she thought about this for a moment. Did we do the right thing, fighting the war? Lane looked at the view screen, where Grace Patterson was shaking hands with alien delegates who had once considered humans to be property. He thought about the labor camps that had been closed, the human workers who had been freed, the families that had been reunited after decades of separation. I think so, sweetheart. I think so. What happens now? Now we try to build something better, something where nobody has to hide their strength or pretend to be weak. Something where every species can work together as equals. Emma considered this. That sounds hard. It will be. Harder than the war, probably. It's easy to defeat an enemy. It's much harder to turn them into a friend. On the view screen, the ceremony was ending. Delegates were leaving the hall, talking among themselves. Some were already making deals and forming alliances. The work of building a new galactic civilization had begun. In the centuries that followed, humanity would be remembered, not for their hidden fleet or secret weapons. Those became museum exhibits, historical curiosities from a war that quickly faded into legend. Instead, humanity was remembered for what came after. For the schools they built on former Vorn colonies. For the hospitals they established on worlds that had never known modern medicine. For the trade networks they created that brought prosperity to species that had been poor for millennia. The council chamber where humanity had been humiliated was preserved as a monument. Visitors from 100 species came to stand where Grace Patterson had stood, to imagine what it felt like to be mocked by an entire galaxy. And then they walked to the window and looked out at the stars, at the ships of every species traveling freely between worlds, at a galaxy that was finally at peace. They understood then what humanity had really been fighting for. Not revenge, not power, not even freedom, though that was part of it. They had been fighting for this, for a future where no species would ever be treated as less than equal, where strength was used to protect, not to oppress, where the laughter of bullies had finally been silenced. It had taken 300 years of patience, 1 year of war, and a lifetime of work to build something better. But in the end, it had been worth it. In the end, it had all been worth it.